From cantons to cattle, beavers and badgers, buffalo or bison, colonialism to confederation. Yes, well, welcome to this Flags of 50 states. I've decided to run through these not, like many, in alphabetical order, but date order of when the current flag was adopted, just to mix things up a bit. Plus, look out for the added extra info text bonus feature. I don't think info text actually is a word, but you get the general idea. Let's get going. New Jersey. The buff colour was used by New Jersey troops during the Revolutionary War and chosen by George Washington. The two women are goddesses, liberty and agriculture, and the horse's head has nothing to do with the godfather, but is a sign of strength and speed. Texas. While not the flag of Chile, it does have a striking resemblance to it with a lone star. I have a lovely comparison video here for your enjoyment. Hawaii. The only state flag to incorporate a national flag. An earlier version of this flag is said to have been given to Hawaii in 1793 by the British as a sign of friendship. I mean, what else would the British bring but friendship? South Carolina. A form of this flag has been flying since 1775. The crescent represents the silver emblem worn on caps of South Carolina troops during the Revolutionary War, and not the moon. Florida. Initially this was a plain white flag with a state seal. The Red Cross was added, but it's not confirmed whether linked to the Confederate flag or not, as I guess that might make it more controversial. North Carolina. The date is linked to the Declaration of Independence from British rule after the Battle of Lexington. Trouble is, there is no actual evidence of this documented, but it makes a nice story. Alabama. Based on the Civil War battle flag of the 60th Alabama Infantry Regiment, it's known as the Crimson Cross. It was square but was made officially rectangle in 1987. Connecticut. The three grapevines are supposedly the first English settlers from the 1630s, maybe they just like wine, and are for the first three towns, Windsor, Wethersfield and Hartford. The motto translates to, "He who hath transplanted will sustain." I guess that works for all genders as well as agricultural and medical. Rhode Island. First off, it's not really an island. The word hope is possibly a biblical reference. Hope we have as an anchor of the soul, Hebrews 6 verses 18 to 19. Ohio, the only state flag to be pointy, otherwise known as the swallowtail. It even has the state initial on it, as well as 17 stars representing that it was the 17th state to join the Union. Maryland. The yellow and black designs are from the family crest of George Calvert, the first Baron Baltimore, or Lord Baltimore for short. The red and white may have links to the Confederate soldiers during the Civil War. At some point, different groups within the state wore either yellow or black, or red and white, depending on their viewpoint, which caused various issues, stress and mayhem, but they all kissed and made up in the end. Tennessee. The stars symbolise unity of three different areas within the state: East Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, and, well, you can guess where this is going, West Tennessee. Pennsylvania, the only state to recognise America's Flag Day, 14th of June, as a public holiday. The blue is the same shade as the US flag. That's about as interesting a fact as I could find here. Massachusetts. The figure is a Native American tribe leader, and while this is supposedly to be a flag of peace, some say the complete opposite with regard to the positioning of the sword above. Maybe they should have stuck to a previous flag of a tree, far less confrontational, unless the arm of course was holding an axe. Maine. The farmer and sailor represent pride, the state reserved for its strong agricultural and nautical terms. There are no official colours for the coat of arms, so the moose can be any shade of colour you like. California. The symbol of the bear was first used when the area left control of Mexico in 1850, hence the word republic appearing. Some say the bear's name is Monarch, but that's a debate for another time. Michigan. A little greedy here, as they have three mottos on one flag. The name is obviously named after a Marvel character, of course. North Dakota. The only difference between this flag and the regimental flag carried during the Spanish-American War in 1898 is that this flag has the state name so people can't forget where they live. Virginia. This scandalous flag is the only state flag to have partial nudity in the image of Virtuous, the Roman goddess of bravery and strength. Makes you wonder what sort of fight she had with the guy she's standing on. Arkansas. The 25 stars in the blue diamond signify that this was the 25th state to join the Union. The 3 stars under the remainder of the state name link to the 3 countries that have controlled the area: France, Spain and the United States. The star above the name stands for the role in the Confederacy during the Civil War. Delaware. Why the name reminds me of a Die Hard film. The colonial blue and buff colours are said to be based on the colours worn by George Washington when he was a general in the Continental Army. The date below is when the state was admitted to the Union, the first to do so. Missouri. The two grizzly bears aren't wanting a fight, but represent strength and courage, while the crescent moon stands for a brighter future, not as bright as the sun would have been. The red, white and blue horizontal bars represent the French heritage, even though they're in the style of the Netherlands flags. Details. New York. The flag faces west to symbolise New York's economic and commercial bridge between East and West, the old world and new. Not to be confused with the city flag of New York, that's a completely different thing with Dutch connotations. Arizona. The 13 red and yellow rays represent the number of original colonies as well as the Spanish flag. There's a bit of history there. The blue is the same as the used on the American flag, and the star is a representation of copper as they are the largest producer of the metal. Indiana. This flag has been around since before Gotham City. That's another episode in itself. The torches are liberty and enlightenment. The rays are their far-reaching influence. 19 stars for the 19th state. Wyoming. Originally the bison, or is it a buffalo, faced the other way from the flagpole, but Grace Raymond Hebard of Daughters of the American Revolution stated it would look better if it was facing the other way round, and it's been like that ever since. People may think that some have far too much time on their hands to worry about such details. Kentucky. Are the two men really Daniel Boone and Henry Clay? Either way, they are a symbolising of unity. There are two sprigs of goldenrod, the state flower, and the word Commonwealth to add intrigue. Iowa. This French-looking flag was designed as such because Napoleon Bonaparte had control of the area. While quite individual in style regarding many other state flags, they still had to add their name. Vermont. The state seal is of a serene landscape with mountains and wildlife, including a red cow for cheese and ice cream the area is known for. Nice. Washington. The portrait of George Washington, the state namesake, is by Gilbert Stuart. Unlike most state flags, which have a background either of white or blue, this is uniquely green. But most importantly, Washington never actually visited this state. Nebraska. So distinct that apparently no one noticed that their flag had been flying upside down for 10 days outside the state capital. The seal includes a steamboat, the Missouri River, a blacksmith with a hammer and anvil, a cabin, wheat, corn, a train, you get the picture literally. New Mexico. The symbol in the middle is called a Zaya sun from the Native American tribe to represent the sacred number 4, especially regarding the seasons, points on a compass and life. This is vastly superior design than a previous unofficial monstrosity and should be commended for such a bold and unique design. Oklahoma. Featuring a Native American warrior's shield under an olive branch and peace pipe. It symbolises peace between the European settlers and Native Americans who both inhabited the area. I think the word peace might mean different things to different people here. Oregon. The state flag is double-sided. The reverse has a beaver who faces the hoist. Check out YouTube channel post 10 to see what these animals can get up to. Alaska. 13-year-old John Benny Benson designed the 8-starred Big Dipper, Polaris or Plough flag, including the North Star, to represent the state's future after beating 142 other entries, of which are displayed in the Alaska Historical Library and Museum. West Virginia. The Latin motto translates to "Mountaineers are always free." The two men are a farmer and a miner to represent the two main industries, all encompassed by a wreath of rhododendron, the state flower. At least the main body of the flag isn't just blue. New Hampshire. The ship is the USS Riley, allegedly the first ship to fly the American flag. There's also Granite Boulder, of which they are proud of. Yes, a giant rock, but we all need a hobby. Idaho. The state seal was designed by Emma Edwards Green and is the only female so far to have designed an official seal. With some state flags, I can see a gap in the market for more redesigns for more #MeToo movement. Kansas. The picture is meant to represent a pioneer life in the region with various activities going on. The gold and blue bar under the sunflower symbolising the Louisiana Purchase when Kansas was acquired from France. The motto translation is "To stars through difficulties," something I'm sure that would have gone through Dorothy's mind at some point. Colorado. The gold is sunshine, white for snow-capped mountains with clear blue skies. The red is the colour of the earth. I guess the letter C itself has something to do with the state name. Illinois. Apparently the initial flag was difficult to identify the state, so after much deliberation they chose to add the word Illinois to make it easier, which doesn't say much to the original design. Moving on, Montana, another named state flag. The motto is in Spanish and means gold and silver to link to the mining industry. Sadly, for anyone outside of the USA, we just think of Hannah. You can thank Disney later. Wisconsin, the plough represents agriculture, the pick and shovel is for the mining, and the arm and the hammer for manufacturing. The anchor simply links to navigation. Minnesota. Yes, yet another blue flag with a state seal. There's far too much going on in such a small section of the flag, and I don't have time to cover the French star or explain about an error on an earlier flag, something to do with a lady's slipper and flowers, but nothing to do with a fairy tale. Oh, and there's 11,842 lakes, but I guess that doesn't quite have the same ring to it. Nevada. Battle born because Nevada became a state during the Civil War, and the colour of the star is a reference to the nickname, the Silver State. For some reason they insisted on moving all of this detail to the top left-hand corner. Not quite sure what they were going to do with the rest of the flag. South Dakota. The state seal shows a riverboat, a farmer and wheat fields, hopefully to represent the area accurately. Oh, and Mount Rushmore is there, if you hadn't quite figured that one out yet. Georgia, nothing to do with the country of the same name. This more recent flag has the state seal and the motto wisdom, justice, moderation. Louisiana, the brown pelican is the state bird. It then escalates quickly with 3 drops of blood gouged from its own breast, representing how far the state is willing to protect and provide for its citizens. All other states, take note. Utah. There are 2 dates on this flag, 1896 when the area became a state and 1847 when the Mormons first settled there. And finally, Mississippi, the youngest state flag, which was partially born out of the Black Lives Matter movement of 2020 because of the previous flag having the Confederate battle flag. The current one uses an original symbol of Magnolia blossom and the words "In God We Trust." 50 states, but sadly I can't say that with their own distinctive flag. Let's say that some have room for improvement, while others have it spot on. For more flags about America, click here, and if you enjoyed this little jaunt, click the like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.